this open here. There we go. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at nobody here yet. How I research coins, basically. So I'm gonna do another video for I'm gonna do research for another video on a 3-cent piece. I recently got a 3-cent piece, so this is just a little bit about how I go about researching the coins, so I can do these videos. We'll see if anybody shows up. I know this is late, but I figured that maybe somebody wants to watch, you know, what's going on. Tonight I will be doing a little bit of research on the 3-cent piece, just to try to figure out. Okay, so you know, I don't know anything about the 3-cent piece, or 3-cent nickel, I guess in this case, about where it came from, what was it made of, the designer, you know, some of the specifics about it. And there's a lot of different ways that you can go about researching a new piece that you don't know anything about. So tonight I'm gonna go through and just kind of do the step through of the pieces that I do when I research coins. That helps me understand. This same process is the one that I went through when I did the video on the 20-cent piece. That I didn't know anything about the 20-cent piece. There is, you know, some basic information that is that I could find in like in the coin book, or the United States a guidebook to United States coins. Just some basic information in there, but that didn't really give me the history behind the 20-cent piece, about, you know, where it came from, why was it made, all of these different pieces, that I was really curious on how, you know, how it came about. Hey, California Greenhorn. I'm just doing a little, I guess, live stream. Technically, yeah, live stream. That on how I research coins. I got interested in on the research aspect because I'm gonna do another video. The next video that I'm gonna do is gonna be on the 3-cent piece, or the 3-cent nickel. That was minted from 1865 to 1889. So I just thought, you know, this may help some people in researching coins that they don't really know a lot about, if they're interested in that, and where to find some of the information, and how to kind of put it all together. That may help people, or just like, you know, just like to see how, you know, other people do it. So I'm just gonna work through it, and if you have any questions, then go and throw them out, and I can answer them. But I really feel like the more people that learn about the history, about you know, all the different things that can happen to coins, it's gonna make them a better collector, obviously, but it's going to make the entire community better. So I'm still learning. I'm new to penny collecting, like 3 months. I started on pennies for a small project, and that kind of escalated from there. I've been doing this about under 2 years. I have been doing this. I've really gotten really heavy into it in the last about 6 months. Just digging in and really figuring out stuff, and really learning a lot more things, a little more obscure stuff, just, you know, a lot of more in-depth information, other than just hey, this is a coin. There's a lot of things that people can learn about the different dye varieties that the pennies have, the different materials that the pennies were struck out of, the need, and some of the important things that happen in the history of the Lincoln cents, like in 1922. 1922 is one of those special years that there was only one mint that struck coins, and that was Denver. And since Denver was the only one that was striking coins, the wear on the dies was extraordinarily rough. So you can find coins out there that have weak strikes or missing the mint mark because the die wear was so heavy. And so that would be effectively a mint error, that you have either a weak D or a no D in the 1922s. You can go all the way back to the 1909s, that there was a lot of political stuff that happened in 1909 that changed the history and the face of the Lincoln cents, because in 1909 there was actually 6 different varieties, different styles of pennies that were being used between the different styles of the Indian heads and the different styles of Lincolns that were minted during that time frame. There's really a lot of stuff that happened in that time frame that changed up the history of the coin. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to learn about the pennies. And the best thing about the pennies is that it's really cheap to get into. Hey Trey's Treasures, how you doing? So tonight I'm just going to take a look at the 3-cent piece. I know nothing about the 3-cent piece. I happen to have one. I actually have it right here underneath my scope. This one's got a couple of holes in it, and it's obviously pretty worn. There's a partial date right here. It looks like 67, and since that one was minted from 1867 to 1889, hey Lincoln, then I can tell that this coin was minted in 1867. But other than that, I don't know anything about it, and I'm just gonna dig in while you guys watch and ask questions, and see what we can find out. I am good, Trey. So starting off with just the United States coins, the Red Book. Looking at the 3-cent, the nickel 3-cent pieces. They were minted from 1865 to 1889. And the notes in here say nickel 3-cent pieces were issued because their silver counterpart was hoarded by the public. The designer was James Longacre. It weighs 1.94 grams. Composite is 75% copper, 25% nickel. Diameter 17.9 millimeters. And all of these were coined at the Philadelphia Mint. It's got a plain edge, and it goes through all the mintages for all the different years and everything. It looks like that there's a couple date varieties. 1873 looks like that there's a closed 3 and an open 3, which is consistent with a lot of the dates around 1873. I know in my research for the dimes, that 1873 did have a closed 3 and an open 3 in that same time frame. Just because they didn't want the closed 3 looks really close to an 8 in the same design, so they changed it to the open 3. Looks like 1877 and 1878 only proofs were struck for the 3-cent nickels. 1886 there was only a proof struck. 1887 it looks like that there is an overdate, possibly. Probably in 1887 struck over 1886. Let's see what else we got. And that's basically it as far as what the Red Book says. But we're gonna dig into some of the other things, and just see what we can come up with. So the obverse of the front of the coin has a bust on it, and it says United States of America, and then has a date at the bottom. On the reverse of the coin has the 3 in Roman numerals and a wreath around it, which is similar to a lot of the coins around that time frame, which would make sense because they're either all designed by the same um, designer, or there was a coinage axe that made them be all similar designs for continuity. So we're gonna dig into some other things and figure out just more information about the 3 cent here. Hey, Mantic. You guys might hear a couple noises in the background. I got my 3D printer going here close to me, and I have a fan that's blowing behind me. So that the mic might pick up some of those sounds. But let's dig into the 3 cent piece and just see what we can come up with. So we're gonna just do Wikipedia first and see what we can find on the 3 cent piece. Usually I just type in 3 cent nickel, so 3 cent nickel. Okay, so what information do we have? We have the history. Okay, so gives us some history about it. It has an unusual history. Is proposed in 1851. Both results of the decrease in postage rates from 5 cents to 3, and the answer to the need for a small denomination, easy to handle coin. Let's see. Mantic says I have weeds pouring out of my ears. I know that these. Let's see. The term trimes is often used for these coins today, but was first used by the director of the U.S. Mint, James Snowden, at the time of their production. So, starting in 1854, the 3 cent silver had its silver metal content raised to 90% to a current circulation. At the same time, its weight was reduced by 3/4. By reducing thickness. The final design change occurred in 1859 because of striking problems. So, let's see. CJ, what does the C on the reverse mean? The C on what reverse? C on the reverse. C on the reverse. On a trime. I don't remember seeing a C on the reverse. This is the 3 cent. The 3 cent nickel is what this is. You might be referring to the earlier versions. Yeah, the earlier versions of the trimes, the silver 3 cent pieces. This is the 3 cent nickel. So, but that could be another video later. It's all good. So what I'm looking for is when I'm doing research on a coin, I read through it and I try to look at the differences of some basic things about, was there Was there mintage issues? Was there design changes? Was there something that like the Civil War silver shortages led to hoarding of a lot of the coins, as well as some of the coinage acts um, that changed some of the designs or the thicknesses or um, the silver content. So there's a lot of different things that can happen to these coins. So it does say that production began to taper off in the 1870s, except for a large coinage in 1881, and this piece went to 1889. But as we went through, 1877 and 1878 was proof only, as well as 1886 was proof only. So it was only minted in Philadelphia, and except for a larger date on the 1889 pieces, it had no design differences throughout its run. Over the course of the series, mintage declined, and some of the dates are scarce, but with the 1865 mintage, over 11 million, a type piece can be inexpensively obtained. So here it goes through different mintage figures. The 3-cent silver, the 3-cent nickel, 1865 to 1889 is what we're looking at right now. Let's see. And then they show some different references down here. Silver 3 cents. That's the one before. 3 cents piece. Let's take a look at this one and see what it has. And that's a broken link. That's what that is. So it looks like that this 3-cent piece, or I'm sorry, the 3-cent nickel, doesn't have a lot of design changes, although some mintage figures does play into into the overall mintage on some of them, or I'm sorry, the mintage affects the value on some of them. Let's see. The 3-cent nickel was never intended as a permanent issue, only as a stopgap measure until the wartime hoarding ceased. Production began to taper off in the 1870s. We know that, but it did not finally end until 1889. One reason often given discontinuation of the 3-cent nickel piece in 1889 is that this coin and the dime were identical in diameter, hence confusion upon the introduction of mechanical vending machines, which is kind of a vague reference. Another fact had been that in 1889 or 1883, the letter postage drops to 2 cents, which basically removed the justification to have these out. Good night, Adriana. So obviously the postage rates really kind of affected the mintage on some of these, or that the need to have the 3 cent as far as something that exists. Some of the things that would be interesting to look for are some of the design changes. Some of the years have like 1873 has a a closed 3 and an open 3. The mintage between those two might be different. Let's see if this has it broken down. No, it just has a total mintage figure of 1.1 million in 1873. Although what they're saying is correct on starting in 1870, mintage goes from 1.3 million, and then the very next year it drops down to 604 million, and it basically doesn't go anywhere near a million again until 1881, which is also is referencing in here that basically a million drops, the mintage drops below about 500,000, between 500 and 800,000 for the next few years until 1877 and 1878, where it drops off completely and only proofs are struck. 1879 had a small mintage of business strikes at 38,000, but then 1881 for some reason there was over a million that were minted. 1.07 million minted on 1881. So if you were looking at getting possibly a typeset, then either one of these early years, like the 1865 being at 11.3 million, or one of these 1881s sitting at over a million, would probably be the best choice, probably because you're going to have more of those specimens available. So let's take a look at, we're going to take a look at PCGS here for a second. The reason why I look at PCGS, I look under their coin facts, because this again is a great reference. And so we're going to look at the 3-cent nickel, 1865 to 1889. And then we're gonna pick out. Let's pick out 1867, the one that we have underneath the scope. So 1867, regular strike, 1867. And I'm sorry if this video is blurry for you guys. So 1867. So what they're gonna have on PCGS website is that they're gonna have the regular stuff. It's gonna have mintages. But what I'm interested in is down here. So right about halfway through the page, you're gonna have a section that is the rarity and survival estimates. So the 1867 3.9 was minted. 3.9 million were minted. And for all grades, the survival estimate is only 15,000. So that's a pretty small figure to have that small of mintage to still be surviving. But let's do some rough math. 3.9 million. So that gives us about what, a 0.03%, 0.04%. So there was a very, very small fraction to a very small fraction of the total mintage that has survived thus far. So there's a lot of different things that can play into this. So when I did the video on the dimes, one of the big things is that there was just too much of them minted, and there wasn't really a need for them in specific years. So what they ended up doing is they end up melting down all of the extra that were minted. So specifically for the dimes, they had all this mintage, and then they end up melting them down and putting that silver content into striking other coins. So I don't know if that happened with the 3-cent nickel, but that would be one question that we would ask. So let's take a look at the 1881 strike, because that was the big year that they minted over 1 million, when the previous and latter years around 1881 were only 21 and 22,000 originally struck. So this one has a much better survival rate. This one has a estimated 6,000 in all grades surviving, with 1,500, over 1,500 in 60 or better. So the 1881s, there was probably a ton of them minted, and that that they were probably kept in good condition because there was just a ton of them. So that's why so many have survived, and so many have survived in those kinds of grades. So from here, the notes on PCGS website is, in 1881, the 3-cent nickel has an extremely high mintage for an era where mintages of less than 10,000 coins were common. With over 1 million coins minted, the 1881 has the 7th highest mintage of the series. As a grade, as a result, collectors have no difficulty locating a nice example of this data at a reasonable price, which is what we just talked about. That that if you were working on a typeset with one of these, that you could do either the 1865 with 11.3 million minted, or the 1881, which is a later year in the series, with over 1 million minted, that you can still pick these up in good condition for relatively cheap. So So let's take a look at some of the rare ones. So we're gonna try to look at the 1887, 1886 overdate, and see if we have any pictures. So on the website, overdate. So I guess there's two different types, I guess. So on here they have pictures of a strong overdate and then a weak overdate. So if you were looking at, obviously these are going to be in much better condition than what you would regularly find, probably like on eBay or something. But if say you wanted to find one of these, you could go onto eBay and look at the pictures, and you may be able to see some of these pieces actually show up on the pictures. There's one that I'm looking at right now, a coin that I'm looking at, that I can pick out that it is a double die, and I know specifically which double die. Now they haven't specified that in the description for that coin, and it's still at I think it's like $4 or $5 right now still, but it is it's a significant coin that you can, that there's a much better value on that than $4 or $5. So I'm watching that one right now to see if I can get at a reasonable price, because that would be a cool piece to find. But let's see on the 1873. Trouble with eBay is that it's more fictional than fact. In what sense, Lincoln? Because I've found more than a couple, in fact 4, because I bought them all, 4 dimes that were just set as that were just being sold as dimes, but if you look at the pictures of the reverse, there's a difference between type 1 and type 2, and these 4 that I picked up were actually type 2, which is the more rare, the scarcer version of the types. And I think it's about the learning that sometimes people don't know what they have. Now, on the same fact, on this, on the opposite side of the sword, there are people that have posted coins on there that are maybe worth $80 to $100, and they're selling them for like $200. There's one that's got a rough value or market value for $250, and they're selling it on there for 500. And there's totally some of those that also exist on there. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Some are good, but most are doctored pictures and decent. There are some that you can clearly tell that are stock photos, and that's the part that bothers me, is that they have 14 coins posted, and it's all the same picture. So and a lot of those comes from that there are coin shops that are posting these pictures, or that have those as postings. And they have a number of them in various grades, but they're just trying to sell them en masse. Now, as far as someone who values the history of the piece, that's the part that bothers me. That if you're gonna sell me a coin, I need to see it. I need to see when I'm purchasing, because it is. I think we are far past. Ken has talked about this before. I think we are far past the. I'm gonna say olden days, as a relative term because I'm younger, I guess. I think we are far past the olden days where people bought and sold coins based off of a grade. There's so much technology that exists right now. On YouTube and eBay and pictures, that if you really wanted to sell a coin, sell me on the actual value of the coin. Now, value is a relative term, because value to you can mean value to me in a different way. With that said, value number one, monetary value. Okay, if a coin is specifically rare, if a coin is specifically old, or has silver content, or is gold, or that can be directly related to a monetary value, which is fine. I, on the other hand, I want to know that I have something that I can place in history. I have a piece of history that means, that can directly relate to a situation in history, or a specific, obviously a year, because everything's going to be dated, a year, an event, like the 20-cent piece. The 20-cent piece is an excellent example of, here is a coin that specifically, has a very short lifespan in history, but it was there for a specific purpose, and was minted specifically in the West, because of a bunch of reasons. There's that value to me, that is more important than really, having a super nice coins. Yeah, super nice coins are cool to have, get them slabbed and all that stuff, but that's not the part that matters to me. I want to know the history, and that's why I like researching these coins, because I want to know that it took a senator and a bunch of people and the mint and designers that had to all these different pieces had to come together for this coin to even exist. And then after they rolled it out, it turned into this giant flop, because instead of having a specific design that was used in by itself, it actually copied a design that was very similar to the 25-cent piece, a quarter at the time, and that was one of its biggest downfalls, is just because they were trying to get something out. Now, that 20-cent piece still plays a big part in the history, specifically on the West Coast, because most of the mintages of the 20-cent piece were minted out of the San Francisco Mint. And that is a cool piece, because your San Francisco mintage coins, depending on what denomination that you were looking at, there was less minted at the San Francisco Mint than elsewhere. Like, obviously Carson City is going to be a prime example. Is that if you can find anything with Carson City on it, that mint was only used for a specific time frame and for a specific purpose. So it's not like just the Philadelphia Mint, which by itself is a big player in the mintage of coins, but there's also it plays a part in a bigger picture. The Philadelphia Mint, this is a wide tangent right here. But the Philadelphia Mint actually took Lincoln. They were technically minted for 4 years. 2 years of those were business strikes, and then 2 years were proofs. But 4 years total. The Philadelphia Mint took steel planchets that had been previously used or designed for the steel cent, for the 43 steel cent, and in 1944 they used those steel planchets that were left over to mint to strike coins. I can't remember the denomination off the top of my head. To strike coins for Belgium during World War II. During the Allied occupation of Belgium in 1944. And so if you can find one of those steel planchets for those coins, that's where they came from. And it's that part of history, knowing that, okay, here's this coin that is technically a foreign coin, but the history of it says that this coin that I have in my hand had originally come from the United States, was supposed to be a 1943 steel cent, was then minted as a foreign coin, as far as I can assume, was sent to Europe during the war, and then made its way back. That's a lot of history in a single coin. That's a lot of history for just the design of a single coin. Now, obviously, a lot of the stuff that, as far as the 20-cent piece, the nickel 3-cent piece, it's not going to have a lot of foreign aspect to it. But the cool part about it is that it plays a big part in the history of the United States, and especially the early history, when you have a lot of separation between the West that was still starting to grow, and then the East Coast that was really industrial at the time. So let's see, some other facts. The United States 3 cents is an unusual denomination that first appeared in 1851, although pattern coins for the denomination were produced in 1849 and 1850. The original purpose of the 3 cents coins was to provide an intermediate denomination between the cent and half dime, making it easier to change some of the old foreign coins that were legal tender in America at the time. No problem, Lincoln. You guys can always bail and go watch the video later. I'm just gonna be on here talking, and you know it's all good. I knew that I was gonna come on late, but no worries, man. Go get some rest. It's all good. In 1851, postal rates were dropped from 5 to 3 cents, while three large cents could have been used to purchase a postage stamp. The bulky copper coins were expensive to produce. Thus, a coin of 3 cents value had 2 purposes, enough to get the denomination started in 1851. So that right there is a big history piece, is that this coin served 2 purposes. It served a purpose as legal tender for postage rates, and it also had a purpose of changing out or to have an inexpensive higher denomination piece other than the bulky copper cents, which if you don't know, the large cents went from, well, let's see. The large cents, before they transitioned to small cents, with the passage of the Flying Eagle in 1856. So at the time that our coin in 1865 was around, there was still large cents in use, or in production, in distribution. Circulation. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. In 1865, a nickel 3 cents was introduced. The predominant metal in the coin was actually copper, but the color was more whitish than brown nickel. Was considered a better descriptor. These were minted side by side with the silver versions until 1873, when the silver type was discontinued. The nickel versions were minted until 1889, when the entire denomination was discontinued. So that is some really good information. So the biggest variety basics or errors to look out for in this particular series is going to be the 1873 open 3 and the 1873 closed 3. For the same reason I talked about earlier, is because the closed 3 looked like more like an 8, so they changed it. And then 1887, that has an over date from 1886. So let's go on to eBay right now and just see what kind of coins are available in this particular. Okay, so it's not under nickels. It's going to be under, what is it, 3 cent? Let's see, 20 cent, large cent, 3 cents. Okay, so it's going to be under 3 cents. We're going to do 3 cent nickels. We're going to do uncertified. Because whenever I look at coins, I always look at just the raw ones. I don't care about the certified ones because they don't mean anything to me right now. And let's see what we have. Let's see if we can find any of the 1887, 86 over dates, just for kicks. So it looks like they start out at, there's only 3 of them. Okay, so there's one for $95, one for $700, holy cow, and one for $1,000. The only thing that scares me about ones like this is that the way that it sits at an angle, you have no idea what the upper part of this coin looks like. It could have scratches left to right on the top, and you have no idea. This is a V nickel. This is not what we're looking for. But 1887, and the way that these coins look, you know, this looks like a stock So I don't know if you can see if I scoot this down. Let's see what my crappy camera is. So right down here, you can actually see part of a either repunch date right in here and then right over here. So in the sense that they are looking at the 1887 to 1886 over date, that's exactly what we're looking for on a strong over date. So this particular one, if this is actually the coin, this is actually a 1887 to 1886 over date. And it says you received this exact item, but it doesn't say anything about anything else. Now I'm assuming because of the supposed condition of this particular coin and the fact that it's an overdate, is why that they are saying that it's a $700 coin. So let's look at 18 strong overdate, 3 cent nickel. That's a cameo. So this would have to grade out at over an MS66 to be even closely graded or closely worth that amount. So, but I'm not interested in the overdate. I just want basic coins. So let's take a look at. Whoops, I'm breaking all my systems here. Hey, Lemonhead. So let's look at uncertified, and we're looking at 3 cents. So I don't care what year it is. So let's look at this one. It's not bad. You can see some die cracks and stuff on it. You know, nothing too special. 1866. There was 4.8 million of them minted, so I mean they still have a high mintage. Give me 1 second here. All right. So 1866. Let's see. This got 5 days left in it. One thing that I look at as far as what we will call value or pricing is looking at coinprices.org, which is Numis Media. 3 cent nickels, 1865. So this is an 1866. Where would my thing go? This is an MS61, so I usually look on the low end just to see what they're running at. Stop. 1866 AU50, roughly $61. And right now they got it for 10. Looks like they just put it up like about good. Let's do. Yeah, I'm not saying it's an MS61. So good. Very good. 18. Like there's still a lot of design left. One thing that I see though is I see a die clash on it. And here's what I'm seeing it. So right here you can see the wreath right up here, and then on this side you can see the wreath on this side. Because her hair stops right here, and if you actually look at it, it goes right up here. You can see it. I know this is a crappy view, But you can see the wreath go around right here, and you can see the wreath go right here. So let's see. According to the Red Book, and this is again rough relative information. So let's look at the reverse. Three-quarters of hair details visible for a very fine. It would be somewhere in there. Good, very fine. I don't think that it goes down as far as about good. Just because it still shows some details. Like you can still see the lines on the 3 right here. So this would be half worn, right there. So if it's half worn, I would say at the high end it would be very good. But what I'm more looking at is just just some of the details about the coin. About this it looks like a die clash on this coin right here. Just it's little things about that, and it doesn't have to be a strong clash. It doesn't have to be like stuff that I'm looking at when I'm looking for coins, because I want something with character, the counter stamps, because that's there's a history about those coins, and I like that more than anything else. There's just it's just really cool. So this one has some funky to it. What I'm looking at is almost like a machine doubling on the edges of the coins here, on the O, on the S, on the E right here, on the S down here. It's really pronounced. I saw it again over here on the bottom of the A, on the C, but it's more about actually go back to that one. Go back to this one. Go back to this one. What does that look like right there? There. Is that the comma from the reverse? Maybe. But anyway, it's those things that I'm looking for. That when you have some specific pieces that you can come across on a coin, that you can see, like there are very specific dies that cause an overdate. Like for example, some of the information that I found on some of the dimes was that there are specific key points that that were very limited in their production run, that they have identified on 5 of the 25 die pairings. So even if you had a rough million or so minted on the 25 die pairings, 5 of those die pairings, so 1/5, has one specific obverse. So that is so that like design flaw or something automatically is low mintage, because the most you could have is like 200,000 or whatever the math comes out to be. And it's those kind of specific things that I look for in the coins, whether it be die clashes or overdates or double dies or relative die cracks that you can identify to, one of 16 pairings. There's one that I did a video on that I don't know why I can't remember it, but it had a particular die crack, or it had one particular thing that was only on one die out of all of its mintage. And that was really cool because, like, again, it goes back to the history, is that, okay, so this coin, even in great condition, even in, all of its mintage, with that one die gouge, with that one clashed die that they didn't polish out, or whatever it was, is that there can only be a max number of mintage for that particular coin. And that's really cool. I really like that. So there's a lot of different things that you can find. Fingerprints, yeah, fingerprints or mispairings. Let's see if we can find. Let's see, 3-cent nickel die marriages. So here's a website that has the 3-cent nickel die varieties. So let's see. 3-cent nickel. This is not anything that I want. Because sometimes you can find what am I thinking of? What's this? Okay, so here's an article on the 3-cent nickel, and this is on PCGS website. It basically breaks down kind of like, what we're doing here, as far as, really gets down to the history of the coin. Why there are higher grades in some coins, because they did more polish on the dies or less polish on the dies, or all these different pieces that really break down let's see, so let's just read part of this. In 1876, the 3-cent nickel is the last of the rare issues in mint state from the 1870s, obviously, because we know that the 1870s had a low mintage. These coins were obviously all struck as proofs in 1870. I'm sorry, hold on. Different paragraph. There are fewer of the fine die polished coins seen than for the previous years with satin and frosty coins, about as often seen in higher grades. However, it is very difficult to find. Strike, again, is not a problem, with one coins being well struck and slight weakness only occasionally noted. So most of the coins in this time frame, although they had lower mintages, they didn't have a lot of design changes. They didn't have a lot of problems with the dies, so they didn't have to do a lot of work on them. So the coins were, especially with the low mintage being a very, very key piece, they didn't have a lot of die wear, so the strikes are going to be stronger on those years that have low mintage than on those years that have a really, really high mintage, because that usually means that there's a lot more wear on the dies. Although 1877 and 1878 3-cent nickels have been reported in mint state, these coins were obviously all struck as proofs. Turning them on edge, one notes the deeply mirrored third side seen on proofs. The fact that some slight frost in the fields as a result in the difficulty in striking nickel coinage, and the likelihood that some coins were struck only once. Most silver and gold proofs are struck at least twice, but the copper and nickel proofs were obviously not as carefully struck. When circulation resumed in 1879, the quality was dramatically improved, and the quantity struck reduced. Since the dies struck fewer coins, most mint state 1879 3-cent nickels are well struck with proof-like, semi-proof-like satin, or occasionally frosted surfaces, which goes back to that just the solid number of strikes that can affect the overall design of a coin. Now, or quality of coin. In the same sense, the design plays a lot into that. For the Lincoln sense, one of the biggest things that you will see, both on the 80s, I know is a big thing, and then in the wheats, on the opposite side of the coin where Lincoln's coat is. So on the wheats, on the top left, on the top of the letter O, and then on basically the top part on the Lincoln Memorial Series, those will have a lesser strike. They won't be as clean, because the amount of material that it takes to fill out Lincoln's jacket, Lincoln's coat right there, is a lot, and it takes away from the quality of the strike on the reverse. Now, coins that have, not that much of a design, say like the 3-cent nickel, there isn't that gap, so there will be a lot more metal to go into those areas, so the overall strike should be a lot cleaner, and obviously the less they were struck, not as much as the example pennies. Okay, here's an interesting piece. The 1880 3-cent nickel is easily available in mint state. It is similar to 1879. In fact, it is even more available in high-grade condition, although there were only 21,000 struck versus 38,000 for the 1879. The only problem is determining which coins are circulation strikes and which coins are proof strikes. It appears that some of the dies for the proofs were used for some of the circulation strikes. The 1880 3-cent nickel, as well as many of the dates to follow, is a nightmare to designate. The third side, the edge, is even inconclusive in some instances. One will find coins that are somewhat proof-like on the edge, but not totally convincing as either proofs or circulation strikes. For this reason, some proofs are properly labeled as mint state or probably labeled as mint state, and vice versa. 1880 coins are ranked second most populous in MS66 and most populous in MS67, according to the June 2001 PCGS population report. So here becomes an example that in 1879 and 1880, that since they struck both proof and business strikes, they were so well struck that it's hard to tell the difference between the two. And that's kind of an interesting piece, because you could find a technically a mislabeled MS coin that is actually a proof coin, which is interesting, because the mintage figures on the proof strikes. So in 1879 there was 38,000 mintage for the business strikes and 32,000 for the proof strikes. In 1880 there was 21,000 struck on the business strikes and 39,000 struck on the proof strikes. So that little piece of information right there can really be interesting in how well coins are identified, especially with mintage numbers that close, that can actually be misidentified. So if you were particularly good at being able to tell the difference between a proof strike and a business strike, I don't know, maybe you could sell your surfaces. The 1882 as seen in the lower mint straight grades about as often as 1880, but is more akin to the 1868 through 1876 group in MS66, although it's seldom seen finer with only a couple of grades, a couple of coins graded MS67. The luster varies from satin to frosty to proof-like, with some difficulty in determining the designation of the latter. Strike is excellent with little weakness noted. Laser rim. Yeah. So then it goes through and it really starts talking about the rarities. The coinage of the 1886 is a proof-only issue that is like the 1877 and 1878. It is found with even more frost in the fields and has led many to a respected numismatist to declare, "I have found a mint state 1866, only not the case." For some reason, there are quite a few 1887 examples seen with satin or frosty luster. And 1887 was was both a mintage, a business strike, although it was only 5,000, and a proof strike of 2,900. So the mintage figures were pretty similar. It is reportedly from a different die than the proof 1887/6, which of course definitely exists. It gets hard to tell on an old coins that are not the best grade. Yeah. 1888 is one of the common dates in high grade for the series, ranking the most common in MS66 and the most common in MS67 per the June 2001 population report. Finding frosty, well-struck examples is not difficult, and the pricing reflects this fact, although it does sell for a slight rare date syndrome premium. This is due to its association with other low mintage coins of the era. One will have little difficulty in obtaining a superb specimen for his or her collection, as this coin has the third highest mintage of the 1879 through 1889 group. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of articles and different pieces about the 3-cent nickel. This even says part 1, which makes me believe that there's another part somewhere. Yeah, it's just me talking, whatever. So, but these are just some of the things that I go through when I research. When I research coins, I really want to know about the particular histories of the coins. Whether there was a specific need for the coins. Obviously, this is going to be one of those things that it was probably out of necessity, in for a couple of different reasons. And stuff. No, yeah, this one is just kind of an interesting one because that it's a nickel, but it's a 3-cent. And it's just kind of one of those in-between things. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting one. I know that James Longacre was a big designer that designed a bunch of coins for the mint, and that designed a bunch of coins during that time frame. There was a bunch of different coins that he was the designer of, And this is a very short-lived, relative short-lived series, uh, dated coin, the 1865 to 1889. So what is that, 24 years, with not a lot of design changes. 1873. Yeah, really, 1873 was really the only. Longacre was a stud. Yes, he was. That he really designed a lot of coins that we use today, or even that we took the designs of and amplified and modified them for later coins. That could be a whole nother video in itself. But just some of the stuff that I would look at for this specific specific spaghetti. This particular coin, the 3-cent nickel, is really how it played a part in how the world, how the U.S. Operated around the time, especially how the 3-cent piece, 3-cent nickel, played a part in the postage rates of the time, and how that was one of the deciding factors that created this coin and got rid of the coin. Reading for a second, because it wasn't until after yeah, I mean, this coin was a really kind of an interesting one, because it was more or less created specifically for the purpose of the postage, and in the time that it was created, was a time that they were transitioning or getting ready to transition away from the large cents that were expensive to produce at the time, to the small cents, with the postage and everything else. And the fact that where this was minted, and this was only minted at Philadelphia, really kind of played a part in it, because the West, really, with gold and silver, was by all intents and purposes its own payment terms used, and that there wasn't a lot of mintage going on in that time frame. And you can see that in some of the stuff. Oh, Mantic just said that. Okay, good. I'm glad I just said something that Mantic just wrote. Cool. We're on the same page. That in the East, where the Philadelphia Mint was obviously located, and that's when you're going to have a lot more population and a lot more postage, that would have really driven the need to have these coins, the 3-cent nickels, more than in the West, because they didn't have the need for it. So, and the biggest difference between the 3-cent nickels and the 3-cent trimes, was that the 3-cent pieces, the trimes, were silver, 75% silver, 25% copper. versus the nickel 3-cent pieces that were 75% copper and 25% nickel. So this is one of those things that is kind of just off by itself, even though it was created, used, and basically died in the middle of all of these other coins being used, because you have, in the same time frame, you have let's see, you have the Liberty Head nickels, or the V nickels. You have the shields still being used. You have the silver 3-cent pieces were until 1873. What other coins did you have? I know you had dimes and half dimes in that same time frame. 1870. You got the let's see, the barbers didn't come until after, but the dimes, the seeded dimes, were during that whole time frame, because they started in 1838. So what was before the seeded? Seeded was capped bust until 1837, 1828. 1837. So 1865. So really, what you had before that was a seated Liberty, 1837 to 1891. But you didn't have a lot of small, I guess, small coinage, other than a large sense. But yeah, up to the time frame of the Civil War, there was obviously a horde of or hoarding of coins that had material value, like silver. There was that created a shortage because of the war. First book ever read was called Across 5 Aprils. If you haven't read it, you must. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of different pieces about this coin that are really kind of interesting. I wonder if you can find. Let's see if I can find something. Definitely have an unusual history because there wasn't a lot of coins. I think there was only a couple, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but there was only a couple of coins that carried Roman numerals on them, because there was the trime, there was the 3-cent piece, there was the V nickel. Obviously the V stands for 5, but I don't know. Was there any more that had Roman numerals on them, on the reverses? Because obviously it's not going to be on the obverse, it's going to be on the reverse. Looking through my book of plenty here. Because the cents had 1 cent, the dimes had dimes. That would be a good trivia question. Yeah, I'm only finding, because previous to, like, in the large sense, it had the fraction, showing the denomination. It didn't have the Roman numerals. So I think it's only those two that carry the actual Roman numerals that designated or that represented the denomination. Because even back to the chain cents, those didn't have Roman numerals. Those had numbers that represented, or fractional. Yeah, there's your Fugio cents. What years? Post-colonial. Continental currency. Drape bust. Birch half dimes. Liberty cap. Braided hair. Classic head. I'm just looking through my book here to see if I can find anything else that would yeah, because the 2 cent, it actually had numbers. It didn't have. That might be a good another piece to research, is the Fugio. You know, same thing is that you research it and you see, okay, what made this coin special, and it was because, you know, it had a short mintage. It had, you know, certain design features that no other coin had. It's those kind of things that were that really make the history on these coins. Type French coins. These are colonial issues. Oak tree. Guess that one has Roman numerals on it. No, but those are shillings though. I guess technically those, but if you're talking about modern, I guess, coinage, you know, 1800s, that still, I'm not seeing anything else. The Fugio, forget about it. It's one of the top cents for me. Let's see, colonial issues, coinage, billion coinage, French coinage, coinage of the States. It would be cool to have a Confederate coinage, or coinage of the States. Would also be really cool to have. Some commemoratives. New Jersey tokens, Vermont private tokens, post-colonial tokens. These are all tokens though. I'm looking for something that would have yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Fugio coppers. Mind your business. The only thing is that it wouldn't be the Roman numerals that represented the value of the coin. Because it's got Roman numerals that have dates or times on a like a clock. James Jarvis Fugio Federal Contract Sense. James. All right, we're gonna look it up. James Jarvis Fugio Federal Contract Sense. Okay, that didn't tell me anything. Okay, there's this one. Okay, yeah, I would say actually, and I would say that would be a good trivia question though. Is post 1800s, so 19th century, 18th century, 19th century. What how many number of coins have the Roman numeral on the reverse, or have the Roman numeral for the value, and that would be 2. Or maybe you can come up with a question that has 2 answers, that has one as the V nickel, and then one as the 3 cent. I guess it would be 3 cent silver, 3 cent nickel, or just 3 cent, I guess. And then the V nickel. That would be a cool one. Gosh, that might have to be a video all in itself. Oh, speaking of, where did it go? Where did it go? Mantic, I have something for you. How about one of those? I know you don't have one of those. Magic holders. I actually started reusing the plastic, so that the holders don't get scratched up. But I've been going through and building year sets, in case anybody wanted them. So like I just finished off. This is, what do we got? West Virginia. That's a nice one. I got Utah. That's a pretty easy one. I had gotten a hold of some BU state quarters from my bank, that they said that they had got some in, so I went and bought as many as I could, and I've been building these holders because not a lot of people have BU quarters, and especially in custom holders, and I thought that would be cool. I was going to talk to you about a design for the 1982 varieties. That's easy. A Flying Eagle varieties and 20-cent varieties. Yeah, I'm down. and sell the packs in BU. I will probably. I'm gonna. Lemonhead, will you email me at the email on the screen? There are a few states that I need, just to finish up some stuff. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head, but I'm gonna write it down, and I will get a hold of you and see what we can work out. Lemonhead for state quarters. Quarters. Beautiful. Perfect. I love it. Let's see. There was another thing that I was doing. Oh, like I just finished these. I just finished these today. So I got Oklahoma, New Mexico, Arizona, Hawaii, and Alaska, which I believe is. Let me check my screen. Check my screen. So this would be 2008. So this is the full set of 2008s in holders. So that's a year set. I also just completed today. I believe this is 2004. No, this is 2000. This is the one that I finished before. So screen. Look at my screen, please. Look at my screen. There it is. This is 2001. This is New York, Kentucky, Rhode Island, Vermont, and North Carolina. Screen. So I'm going to write this down. How about I write that down off screen? I have it is a Logitech C922 that I use, and it works pretty good for what I have. I obviously don't have a super strong internet connection. It's decent enough, and the computer that I'm using is this scrappy thing that I put together. So it works for what I have. It works just fine for everything that I need. My lighting is obviously has some things left to be desired, but you know, I don't care. It's I'm not going to throw thousands of dollars into computer equipment because you know, it's not that important. But no, I really like this specific Logitech camera, just because it still allows me to do a bunch of different things. Although the autofocus function could be better, as in a lot better, as in I want to punch my computer monitor sometimes because it's garbage. That's why. Because it's garbage and reasons. Terrible. Just terrible. Anyway, you guys get the idea. So I have a lot of information on the 3-cent piece, although now that I'm looking at it, I don't think that I'm going to do a video. I mean, if I do a video on the 3-cent piece, I'll probably just have some pictures and say, you know, here's some basic information about it. You know, that is, unless I can find some specific information that makes the 3-cent this thing here. Let's look back, flip this over. like that right there. That is gonna make this worthwhile. I don't know. Like I don't know that there's, you know, that really that much information out there. But I'll put something together. Yeah, it'll probably be a shorter video. Just, you know, to have up as far as a reference. But yeah, that's basically it. That these are pretty much all of the steps that I go through when I'm looking at coins and I'm trying to figure out, you know, what they are and where they came from, and, you know, reasons and stuff. Just something fun that I like to do because I don't sleep. That's why. You guys got any questions for me on things? Like this. Got the lotto numbers. Yeah. Yeah, I wish, man. This one, the Colorado, the state looks funky only because I'm taking it from the one that I'm doing the map. So I'll show you guys this map. This map is crazy. Let me pull this up and do a thing and some stuff. Where's my big picture? Looking for my picture. My big picture. Nope. Wrong one. This one? Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one. Where's the US map? This one. Sorry, guys. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on to the night. Okay, so this is the map. And this is what I'm looking at. Now, let's see if I can not jack this up. So, I want to see what you guys are seeing here. Bloop. So, this is the map that I used all of these designs from. And obviously this is going to be wrapped around... oh. This might help. That one, right there. There we go. That's a sign that I should... probably not overthink this too much. Because of reasons. So let's go here, and we're gonna go... Yes! There we go. Okay, so this is the map. So all of the holes that you see are all the quarter designs that I have done already. Obviously, some of these, like all the islands and stuff, will have to be... that might have to be a little bit different. Maybe I'll do a solid piece, like a little outline, and have the state be kind of indented in those particular ones. Because those are going to be a little bit harder to do. But the ones that already have holes in them, I have already taken those pieces and I have exported those, so I can just go in and print them out. And if you look at Texas, you can see the size, and that's a quarter size. So I actually looked at how long it's going to take, and that's a uh, and I named the file, the state, and then how long it was going to take. And I think Texas is going to be probably, I think it's almost 2 hours just to print out one. Now the red triangle on the side, that's going to be my strip, and I might just make it um, a straight a straight line for the edge for all of the smaller East Coast East Coast states. But you put the quarter in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. Actually, this one right here, outside of Texas, that was my test piece, that I was trying to get the right size and shape, of the cutouts, I guess you can call them, to fit inside all of these states, because not only do I have to figure out the thickness of the states of how I want them to print, which I believe is the 3 millimeters, 3 to 5 millimeters. That I wanted the inset of the quarter cutout to drop below, so that the quarter is flush as much as possible with the top of the design, so that if something came across the top of the design, it's not going to put a scratch all the way across the top of the corner. I wanted it to just have that little, that little inset or whatever, just to set it apart, so that it would actually hold that coin in there. Now, most of the coins will be really easy to put together. California, these islands won't be there. It'll just be just a regular outline. Washington is going to be pretty easy. There's a lot of states in there, but like Colorado, Colorado is kind of funky, only because the way that it is shaped on this map, because it's taken from a not just a straight outline, but like a globe view of it, which has the design being more concave than anything else. But I tried to get it as anything, I tried to get the sizes as what am I trying to say? I tried to fit in as many coins into the state as I possibly could. So there are some that I'm just not gonna fit. Hawaii was a stretch. West Virginia was a stretch. But all the other states, like I did them as as little as I could possibly make them, while not making the map, like 14 feet long or 16 feet long that we were talking about, because even the state of even the Texas one is a large part of my build plate on my 3D printer. My 3D printer is roughly 8 inches cubed. So obviously that is the space that I have to work with, and there's some things that I can twist, or that I could do, like I can print on a 45 to give myself more build space. But I think at that point I'm kind of defeating the purpose of having that flat base to print these coins out and for them to put in together. But this was really interesting. I think this total design with the coins and the thicknesses, it took me probably 2 or 3 hours just to get the general design, and to fit the quarter size, as far as just the size, and then probably took me probably another 3 or 4 hours to get the right thickness, because originally I had these down at 2 millimeters thick, which is really thin for coins, and it just was not working out because there wasn't a lot of material to hold on to the coins, to be that snap fit that I wanted them to be. And then I had printed out a couple of designs, and they just weren't fitting in as tightly as I wanted them to, just because of the way that everything flowed together. So that took me a few hours to really fine tune, and get those pieces together. But this is some of the stuff that that I do on the side, that I do like late at night, like what I'm doing right now, that I enjoy doing as far as the craft side, um, you know, in relation to coins, because this is one of those things. Like if you have this full map, I believe it's under 30 inches. I've got measurements somewhere. I don't know where. There's somewhere. I believe it's under 30 inches, and it will fit on like a 30 by 24 frame or something like that. I had it worked out in my head or whatever, that you can get that frame and then put this thing inside the frame. Or the other thing that you can do with these is that you can actually, the way that these are printed, I'm printing on a glass plate. And with that glass plate, the back of the printouts are basically smooth, are like glass smooth. So you can actually super glue these or epoxy these onto a piece of glass, and they will hold on that glass, which is I think is going to be kind of a cool thing, because you could have the whole state, kind of like the fold out maps that they have for the quarters, on like this picture, and basically build the picture. Whether it be that it is okay, so for every quarter that you find, you fill in the state, or maybe you don't get the state until you go visit something inside the state, or something that where it's not just not just a static piece. It's something that you have to build, and it's very dynamic, and that's what I really enjoy. Is that all the books that I have, the coin books I have, I can't just get a book and say, okay, I'm gonna put certain coins in here, and I can't do that. Once I start a book, I have to finish it. It has to be it has to be complete. So one of the ones that I got was Coins of the 20th Century, and that one is driving me nuts, because I finally have all of the coins to get it filled, but that barber quarter does not fit tight enough. And it's because it's super worn, so I'm going to have to go get another barber quarter to replace this one, because it needs to fit in there perfect. And it's that... and it's that kind of thing that really drives me, for the coins. How much for Lemonhead penny cent holders? It depends on what you want, Lemonhead. Do you want the acrylic inserts? Is that what you're wanting, or do you want it with the 2x2, or with the acrylic holders, or just plain holders? It really just depends on what you want. Oh, there's always options. These things are custom printed. I want the best. So what this one is the way that I figured. Let me get this on the ground so I can see it. So what I've got is that each of these, like this, fully customized printed, with the BU quarter, is 250. So if you want the acrylics and the insert, then I could do those. Really, right now I'm building all of the state ones, but I do have designed some of these inserts for the 2x2s. Um, I do have some designs already done, but it just depends on what you want to be printed. Now, the actual inserts are only 50 cents, just for the inserts. So they would look like that one right there. So this is in New York. It's got my name on the bottom, but I can design it anything, anything you want, and it to fit a penny, 50 cents. Maybe the wording wants it on it too. Yeah. So how this all started? This actually started with I was talking to Ken Peavy about designs, for inserts on the 2x2s, and he says, "Well, here, let me send you some stuff." So he sent me this stack, and this is really where it was, where it stemmed from. So he sent me, this is a quarter holder. This is obviously a $half holder. This is a dime holder. This is a nickel holder. And then my cent holder is over here taken apart because that's how that's how I was able to basically take these foam pieces out and replace them with the acrylics. Or I'm sorry, replace them with the inserts, to take this foam stuff away. And that's really just kind of how it all started on, the acrylic, the inserts for the acrylics, the map, the all this other stuff is just, this is how it started. So I use these as basic templates, but obviously I have each one of these designs, that I can put, that I can put quarters in, that I can put $half in, that I can put nickels in, that I could put dimes in. I've got some dimes somewhere around here somewhere. I got some rosies right there. Um, so I can test fit all of these pieces to ensure that they are, that this basically the snap fit how I want them to work. But yeah, if you're interested in getting some, just let me know. What you want them to look like. What wording that you want to have on them. If you want your custom name on them. Obviously the cents. The ones for the pennies or the cents, are gonna have a lot more space than the quarter ones I'm working on. So I can do that across the front. I could put a date on it, a variety, anything like that. It doesn't take me very long to design one, just because it's really easy for me to do. My background is computers. and especially CAD design is kind of my forte. So yeah, those are all really easy to make. The hard part is just waiting for them to print out. But yeah, you just email me. Um, Email's right on the bottom of the screen. Just email me what you're looking for, and we'll go from there. And we'll get you set up with some custom holders, because everybody needs custom holders. Everyone. Ugh. Alright, guys. I am just at about 2 hours. It is very late for me here. I appreciate you guys coming out and spending some time with me tonight, looking at um, coins and designs and stuff, and how I research coins, and do videos, and all that fun stuff that I like to do. And I'm gonna go take a long nap. But if you guys have any questions, if you guys are watching this video later, go ahead and right there, that email right there. Send me a message, and we'll work it out. And yeah. Till next time, guys. I'll see ya. Thanks for watching. Good night.